Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. The name of my channel is Uncle Drak. As I have mentioned several times in the past, Uncle Drak is a character near and dear to my heart, and the beginning of why I got on YouTube and did a number of things with media to begin with. I was asked to elaborate a little bit on the making of the single episode of a cable television show that featured Uncle Drak's Magical Funhouse. There's a little bit of history there and some time. I don't think I've mentioned this here before. This is my Stanley Award, named after Stanley Remmelmeyer, the founder of Torrance City Television, for comedy in 2008, won by Uncle Drak's Magical Funhouse, or as the award states, Uncle Drak's Magical Funhouse House, for comedy. I submitted the Amy and Mr. Nails segment, the puppet skit, and amongst a fairly tight group of competitors managed to pull out the win, which I didn't get a lot of awards for my stuff. That was actually really nice. So I talked a little about the history of why the show was made, how the show was made. I was also asked to address if you wanted to make a show of your own, how you might go about doing it. If you continue to want to go about doing it. It was Halloween 2006 or 7-ish. They had not yet started filming the Dungeon Masters, but they were about to. And I was dressed up in a villainous outfit because I tended to rock that kind of look. It had originally been made as a Renaissance mercenaries uniform for doing Renaissance fairs, which I went to twice, I believe. Got worn at a friend's wedding at the Excalibur in Vegas once. And my friend Mandy, I memorialized a couple of weeks ago, her father came over to me and said, "You look like you should be hosting a Saturday morning horror movie show on television." And he meant it. He'd been in entertainment for a long time. Worked with Roger Corman as a special effects group, been on camera a couple times. And so that kind of sunk home. That meant something to me. Because if that person thought I could be another Sven Gulli, or someone of that nature, then sure, I'd absolutely give that a try. And started thinking about it on and off. Then this confluence of events happened. I started writing the novel and I got an agent. I started, the Dungeon Master started filming, and when I was in a random conversation, my agent mentioned that it'd be awesome promotion or nice for publishers to know that I had some kind of a media presence. So if I had a cable show, that might be a thing. And the documentary folks thought that would be a fascinating process to document. And I was kind of on the shelf with it. But here's how I was able to do that at the production values I was able to at the time. Torrance, California. I live in Torrance, California, and the city made a deal with a cable company. I forget which one exactly, but in exchange for the cable company being able to come in and do a huge utility project of laying high-speed cable and fiber throughout the city would in turn receive a state-of-the-art modern cable television station, which would be a resource for the citizens. Because I live in Torrance, I can go literally across the street from my house. It is walking distance, even today, to the Stanley Award building where Torrance City Cable is located. and I can sign up for classes. If I take a producer's classes, there's a few. There's the editing class and the field production and the studio production classes. If I take those classes, I am a cable producer. I can bring programs into. I can use the equipment at the studio. I can check out equipment to go do field shoots, and I can take footage that I generate to the cable station for them to put on cable. Torrent City Cable Channel is mostly news and coverage of local events, but there is also a certain amount of entertainment content. And I was broadcast there. I'm not sure how many times it repeated, but I'm absolutely certain. I was sitting in the cable in the Remmelmeyer building, watching when it premiered. So I went and I took the courses. A lot of what I do here, a lot of the editing that goes into this and some of that, those skills started back there with taking those courses, um, and working with what was at the time state of the art editing bays. It would be a couple of years, no more than a couple of years, before all of that functionality, everything that I could do with a professional bay, would just get moved to a home computer very easily. Once I had the Adobe suite and a computer that was capable of running it fairly well, I could do all the editing stuff here, transferring footage from a camera using mini DV tapes to the computer. Wasn't that difficult. You need a couple of pieces of equipment. If you get a broken camera, that'll play the tapes. That's all you need, and a card that'll capture that. Which I had that stuff for a while. Didn't use it as much as I probably should have. Digressing. So I took the courses, and once you take the courses, you can check out the equipment for a weekend or a night or a weekend, however long. If you're going to go do a field shoot, most of Uncle Drak was field shooting. All of it was field shooting. Or you can rent time or get time. You don't even have to pay for it. Get time in the studio. So that was the technical aspect of it. That was where we got the camera work and the lighting and the sandbags and all the stuff that goes along with doing the production. I've got a very good camera at the moment. I'm looking at it right now, my Canon DSLR. And if you've got a decent video camera these days, you have, this has a perfectly serviceable camera in it, a very good microphone. This will take B footage like you wouldn't believe, and I've used it for a lot of B footage here on the channel. So, it's not even the latest Android. It's a Samsung something or other. I can't retain names and brands. When the family goes in for the plan, I say, what has a camera that will let me do decent video footage? And we had lavalier mics for the most part, with the very few times there was actually dialogue involved. And yeah, all of that. Torrent City Cable. Then there was the writing. The episodes were very loosely written. There was a lot of practice. I had one segment in mind that was going to be the most important part of it to me, which was the fighting with ninjas segment, because that's what I really wanted to do. It is the worst segment of the entire show, of course. The most amateurish, the most poorly shot, it's just not very good and could have benefited from a lot more editing, and the pacing was terrible, and I cannot say enough bad things about it. It was still kind of fun. It was a rough day of shooting. But it was, I storyboarded stuff. I wrote out the episode. There was a script that got followed. It was more suggestions. Again, one of my main areas of training, extemporaneous speaking. So if I've got a pretty good idea where I'm going and how much time I've got to get there, I can usually nail that. Um, and then there was about a month of shooting on and off because I couldn't pay my crew. I couldn't pay my stuntmen or actors. Uh, I paid them in sandwiches and craft services on site. We'd get a big platter. Subway does wonderful party platters of like 4-inch sandwiches. You just get like a pile of those and a bunch of water. Sodas were one thing. We could throw some sodas in there, but water was the main commodity of the day. It got hot during filming, more so for me. Um, and the fight with ninja segment that took a day. That was a full day out in the hot sun. Mandy's significant other at the time um, offered me, he was in the SCA, so he had a few extra pieces of armor, offered me a padded gambeson to wear underneath the Uncle Drak suit, which I did. And that is one of the reasons that that shoot put me in the hospital. Um, and there were a number, it was a long day. It was very stressful. I was on the entire day. I was carrying extra weight. I was building up extra heat. I was exerting myself. And at that time, I didn't know that I had 5 ruptured discs. I was just working through the pain, trying to make everything happen. I might have only had 4 before that day. There were emotional problems and conflicts on the set that did not need to be there, but you deal with this because people are people. It was a rough day. And then my Anna and a 5-year-old baby ninja Andrew and I took all the stuff back to Torrance City Cable. A couple of 100 pounds of equipment, cameras, camera bags, sandbags, tripods, lights. Took it all back, and then I went to the hospital because I could not stand any longer. Heat exhaustion and pain, which they couldn't explain, but it wasn't my heart to go home, which is the litany of people with bad backs. Um, the on the in studio shoots were at what is now my mom's house, my parents' house at the time, and because my mom's got that amazing kitchen, which was good for so much stuff. It's almost a production kitchen. I still mean to do more stuff there, just as me going and doing some cooking stuff and other things, maybe some D&D related cooking stuff. Who knows? But it's just an amazing kitchen with all the accoutrement and great power connections and great lighting. And it's got that setup with the rolling bar in the center so you can get all these different shots. And so we did the volcano segment and the chicken Kiev segment in one day, which it wasn't as bad. I was doing this for 2 cameras, 3 really. There was a side camera to get details on the cooking segment, and then there was Mandy behind the camera for Torrance City Cable, and then there were the people doing the documentary, the Dungeon Masters, right next to them. And it was a day, Vic and his fatigues with his afro punching me out twice. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. It was painful, but it was okay. It's kind of it was going to be the recurring theme. I wrote the Amy and Mr. Nail script, and Mandy and I did that behind puppet stage. Mandy had never quite gotten there is a lot of endurance training that goes into proper puppeteering because you've got your arm up for the entire performance, if not more. When I was doing puppet ministry for the churches, this was the training that we did, is that we would spend entire days with our arms up, moving our hands in very small figure eights so that we had that muscle memory for not the endurance and the muscle memory for the small little bits of movement that lets you know a puppet is alive, even if it's not doing anything. Um, Mandy hadn't had that, so the Amy puppet tends to have a little droop as we go on. And we did it twice so that I had footage I could edit back and forth and close-ups and stuff. It was a grueling day of puppetry, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's still some of the best work I've ever done and still holds up. I'm very fond of that script. It was a little kind to the subject matter, all things considered. And once we had all the segments done, it was bringing them home, moving them into my computer, doing the editing, because I did all the editing at home. And then it was animating the title sequence. And there was a certain amount of time pressure to get this done. I had a couple of psychotic breaks doing it because this was a lot of work I was trying to get done by a certain deadline. I was the person who set that deadline, but I wasn't going to make it, and I was still going to disappoint people. And I have a hard time disappointing people, because me. A very elementary animation in Flash, and I rather enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun come to it, and I think I got it across pretty effectively. And then it was packaging it all up, getting it onto a DVD, and taking it over to City Cable. And they put it on and gave me an award for it. It was one, you can get comparable equipment for yourself much more easily than I could back in 2008. The camera I'm using at the moment, it was a bit of an expenditure. It was how we spent a good part of our tax rebate this year. It came in under $1,000 with a whole bunch of bells and whistles. And a good DSLR camera will take you far. Tripod, you'll probably need lighting unless you're going to do all of your stuff outside, and even then you might need some lighting or at least some reflectors. Or other people can tell you what equipment would suit you much better. If you have a wonderful city that you live in that gives you opportunities like Torrance does with City Cable, you can absolutely take advantage of that. The educational part's important. Knowing camera angles and how to set a white balance and the basics of editing really help going into the project. Would I do it again? We went back a little over a year later. I got time in the studio and we did a studio shoot revisiting the show from a year before, talking about our experiences and what we've done with it. That footage is lost to time. I no longer even know where the media is that is on, which is a crime, because I'd take that. Mandy did not want to appear on camera. She did not enjoy being on camera, so we had an empty chair stand in for her, and she did her part of the interview from the booth. And there were parts that were so ridiculous. I had to look at the camera and say, "Scott, this is Scott from the past. Don't leave this part in. Edit this part out." It was grueling. It was very rewarding. It hit at a time in my life that, if you have seen the documentary, you know was very difficult, very trying. Could I do it today? No. No, I could not do it today. I am not the man I was back then physically by any stretch of the imagination, and I wasn't that good back then. I often, while I was recovering from the cancer, doing some more stuff as Uncle Drak was one of the things that really pushed me forward. It's one of the reasons the character became so prevalent in my mind again, because I just kind of hung there. That was my alternate reality I could go to while other things were happening, like radiation, chemo. Um, but as I have come to recovery, um, I realized my back wasn't going to be, my back is never getting any better. My back is going to continue to fail until I just cannot stand anymore. And I'm about halfway there now. Um, and that means that the rest of me has degraded physically too. I'm a lot weaker. I'm not as fast. I can take a fall once, but a day of doing falls or physical activity would wreck me. I know I've tried. I've gone out and I've pushed, and I thank those people who have helped me try to do that. And I think we all realize that's not me anymore. I might. I'm studying Blender and the Unreal Engine, and I've done computer animation in the past and taken some courses. And if my skills get to a certain point, or if I meet a number of people who are interested in using their skills to this end, Uncle Drak might show up in a CGI feature, or as a CGI character in something. But for now, uh, he's best relegated to literature, I think, because that hurts the least to produce. I encourage you to try. You don't need the outlet of a public cable station anymore. We have YouTube as a platform, has its benefits, has its negatives, but it is absolutely still a way to take what you produce and put it in front of the public. And there are some folks here with amazingly high standards and wonderful quality and tutorials. I'm not going to be able to tell you the basics or elementary functions of the camera work and the cinematography. I can probably do it, but it's one of those things where if I had to break it down in my mind to the point where I could explain it, I wouldn't do it well. And I think we can see you can still find Uncle Drak's Magical Clubhouse. It's at the beginning of this channel. I've done a lot of stuff since then. I still go back and watch them every so often, a little cringeworthy, but some of it still holds up. Some of it still holds up pretty well. But I'm not an instructor in the particulars. And there are instructors on the particulars if you just do a little searching here on YouTube. We live in an age where we can take our visual media and we can get it seen. And, if it catches the right zeitgeist or so the right notice, if it gets enough of a boost, then you're out there. And if not, well, you keep trying. If you're doing it because you want it to get seen, there's a problem. If you're doing it because you really want to do it, I like looking up people's amateur lightsaber fights, some of which become really, really professional. I'd like to do stuff like that. I'm just not. Okay, I might be able to get a lightsaber fight out of myself. One of these days, maybe. If I were physically capable, yeah, I'd do it again. Not all of the people involved in that effort are still with us. Not all of them are still congregated around, and not all of them are in the same shape they were back then. Our budget ninja has exceeded my height, but it would be hard to get a crew together. It's hard to get a crew together because that's got to be a dedicated group of people and they got to bring stuff, especially when you're starting off. You can't buy 10 ninja costumes. You got to hope everyone's got a black outfit and a balaclava and really hope that they can bring it that day. If you're lucky, you've got the sticks for everyone to hit each other with. You need people. You can find a way to do it with fewer, but never one. Not if you want to get something done that's this is a one person production. Camera's not moving. Lighting's fine when I start. I know all the editing stuff I need to do. So this is a one person production. You can do a vlog one person. You want a fight scene, that's two people minimum. You want to do a fight scene against a CGI opponent, that's two people minimum. But you still need your camera references. I'm rambling a bit, but um, if you want to do this on your own, equipment, knowledge, in order of what you need to acquire. The knowledge, the equipment, the personnel, the location, the time. Learn about the camera gear you're going to want to use. Learn how to choose the camera gear that you're going to be picking up to do this. Learn how to do the editing you're going to need to do, how to handle the lighting in a situation. Exterior shots, you don't have to worry about the lighting as much. The interior, if you don't have a dedicated studio, you're going to need to get some lighting. Good lighting kit on Amazon, under $100. Your people, who is going to be able to do this with you, who's going to be in front of the camera, who's going to be behind the camera, who's going to be calling the shots, who's going to direct it, who's going to be making sure that there's enough water there for people so that you do not all get dehydrated, that there's something to eat so that you can keep your calorie levels up and aren't working in a deficit, because you do not want hungry actors. There's a reason craft services is as prevalent as it is in Hollywood. Where are you going to do this? Public parks might have a problem with you doing filming at the public parks. Find out what is the rules and laws are in your municipality. If you're going to go to an abandoned spot, see if you can get permission from someone. If you own the property where you're going to be doing this, awesome. You're pretty much all taken care of. Just be careful that folks are going to be careful with their liability, because if folks get hurt, that's another issue entirely. Again, that's someone else's video. And the time. You want to catch an hour. I took a day to get what ended up being 5 minutes on screen. The more complicated stuff you want to do, if it's a fight scene, if it is a chase scene or a montage with action involved, you're going to need a day or days, depending on the length of the shot and complexity of it, how much setup it takes. Set aside more time than you believe it could possibly take, because it will then take that time. And then realize that once you are done with all of the work on in front of the camera, once the camera's been put away and everyone's gone home, and you're all enjoying a healthy glow of a day or two of activity, that's when the work starts. And that's when there's post-production, editing, any special effects you want to throw in, even the overlays of your credits and titles. Knowledge, equipment, people, time, and place all set up. You're good to go. The first thing you do isn't going to be good. I know this for a fact. The first stuff you do isn't going to be good. That's fine, because practice is also a factor. No one's going to run a great game their first game. No one is going to make a great video the first time they make video. It is through practice and repetition and learning from what you have done in the past. It is a process, and doing it over and over again, you will acquire the skills and the practice, the eye, to make this stuff work, to make it look good. Couple of classes in filmmaking would not hurt. The classes in cinematography. What part of this what part of this interests you? I have a background in stage combat, so I want to do stage combat. Filming stage combat is way different than doing stage combat on a stage. And I am still learning all the differences. Find the part of this that excites you. Find the part that gets you revved up about doing the project. Do that and find people who are excited about doing other parts. A team effort will take you much, much further than an individual effort. And I think that's about it. I'm going to hold this because I don't showcase it very often, and I am actually really proud of it. Well, thank you for following me along on this particular ramble. I hope this was informative, and I'm looking forward to seeing what folks produce. Let me know. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have other things you'd like to hear me talk about or your own experiences producing visual media, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, things you'd like to hear me talk about, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and click the subscribe link. If you do that, make sure you hit the little notification bell next to it so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you'd like to contribute to my channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. Allows me to make better videos more often. Meantime, thank you for your interest. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.